Okay, so it's my belief that Bitcoin is going above $100,000 relatively soon, but there are some hard-hitting truths that we do need to go through. With that said, if we do jump over to this, we can see 3 reasons why Bitcoin could soar to $100,000 this year. So this is according to Anthony Scaramucci, who is an American financer who briefly served as the White House Director of Communications. He also worked at Goldman Sachs, investment banking, equities, and private wealth management divisions. And after leaving, he founded Oscar Capital Management in 2005, and he founded investment firm Skybridge Capital. Skybridge Capital has approximately $2 billion in net assets for advisory clients as of 2022. Now, he was recently on CNBC, and we want to hear from him to see what he thinks is about to happen and go through some of these reasons. Now, as you know, on the channel, I have been trading the market in the short term, and some of our trades have been doing really, really well. We got Ethereum right now. We have a $100,000 trade, which as we speak sits in a $3,500 profit. We had our Solana trade, which we cashed out over $12,000. So far this week alone, we are in about $15,000 of profit. I have been introducing you guys to BTCC recently. This is an exchange that I'm now working with, and they offer 10% deposit bonuses. But I wanted to test this out because a lot of exchanges say they'll give you these massive bonuses, but do they really do it? So I actually deposited $100,000 of my own money into this account, right? $100,000. You can see right here. I get a lot of people in the comment section claiming that my accounts are fake, that these are not my real trading accounts. So they are. This is my money that I'm trading with. So I did deposit $100,000. And as we can see here, I now have $10,000 that I can trade with. So I can open up longs on Bitcoin. They have up to 500x leverage, but that's just ridiculous. We're not going to use 500x, but for argument's sake, let's say it's 100x. I can now open a 15 Bitcoin trade with the deposit bonus they gave me. But of course, we wouldn't do that. We would open a much smaller trade here, would keep ourselves safe. That's not how we trade, but it works, guys. So if you want to get yourself 10% of your first deposit, if you put $10,000, you get $1,000 back you can trade with. And guys, the key to BTCC is there's no VPN and no KYC necessary. So you can sign up from anywhere in the world. So we'll leave the links to that down there in the description. Now let's hear from Anthony Scaramucci.
See you, welcome back.
Good to be on.
What is going on? I know I ask you this every time, but it's such a volatile asset class that the question needs to be re-asked because it was at north of 70 and now here we are.
Just promise me if we get to 100,000 at the end of the year, you'll invite me back.
I definitely will.
Promise me.
I definitely will.
I won't have the basketball trophy, but you have a lot of things going on at the same time. You had the German government selling some Bitcoin. You have the Mt. Gox bankruptcy, which has been a 10-year drawn-out affair, is now going to be releasing about 140,000 Bitcoins. And so Skybridge, alongside a Fortress, participated in that. And so you have a combination of these things going on at the same time that there's been some selling pressure in the ETF. And so when that happens, Bitcoin is a volatile asset. You also had a halving, not to get into the Bitcoin jargon with you, but
I think our viewers are well versed on that.
Okay, so every time you have a halving, a result of which it forces the miners to sell some Bitcoin to keep up their revenues, which puts temporary pressure on Bitcoin, but we still love the fundamentals of Bitcoin long term. And I do think, as I said, it'll be 170,000 post-halving, but I think it can get to 100,000 by year end, but it has to chug through this slog right now.
$100,000 by year end, so around 5.5 months. That's what he's claiming.
Now, one last quick point.
Sure.
FTX is going to be releasing shortly $16 billion roughly of cash to investors that had their accounts at FTX. And so that's very good news for Bitcoin holders, I believe, because a lot of that was in Bitcoin. It got frozen in the bankruptcy. It got dollarized, unfortunately, at low numbers for Bitcoin. But it's going to go back to those account holders shortly. And we think a lot of that may flow into the assets.
Oh, I was going to ask you.
$16 billion of cash is going to go back into the hands of crypto investors, people who used FTX. So they're already versed in crypto. We are in a pullback right now. This could be an amazing opportunity for these guys to get their cash back and start injecting it into the market. They may very well inject it into altcoins as well, because we don't know exactly all of the different coins that were liquidated here. Well, we know there's a large part of Solana, a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of Ethereum, that sort of stuff. But They could go into other opportunities. These are crypto enthusiasts, crypto investors, and they may look at the market, think Bitcoin's too overheated. Maybe they go into Ethereum, maybe they go into Solana, maybe they go into Casper, maybe they go into something like that. I'm not saying that they will, but I think this is absolutely huge, guys. $16 billion.
See that. Do you think, at least for those people, right, in their minds, there's some tarnish on the story enough that they won't want to assume the risk again in crypto because of what happened to them in the first place?
We call these things life chips. If you get a windfall back like that, you were counting on not getting that money back. Now that you're getting it, you may buy a car, you may buy a house, you may buy a summer house, but I do think 40 to 50% of that will go back into the asset class. I mean, these are hardcore people. Remember, they're early adopters too. If you had an account at FTX, or you have an account at Coinbase, you're considered to be an early adopter in the digital asset space. And so early adopters, have typical.
And that's a really good point as well with the Mt. Gox people, all right, guys? I understand that there is a lot of Bitcoin to be given back for the Mt. Gox people. But again, just like he said, probably not all of that money will go into crypto. It probably will be liquidated to buy cars, to buy beach houses, all of that sort of stuff. But a lot of it may still be used to simply hold the Bitcoin they're given back, to invest into other assets. Maybe they do liquidate the Bitcoin, but it goes into altcoins, that sort of thing. That's why I do think that these things are blown way out of proportion.
Loyalty to the asset class.
You raise another interesting point when you mention the German government selling. How big of a risk do you think sovereigns in general are to the story? We have to figure that sovereigns are large players, right? And the ebbs and flows of government and things that happen. Is that a longer-term risk more so than people have thought about?
I don't think so, Scott. And I'll take you back to the situation, the early days of Uber. No government wanted Uber. No administrator wanted Uber. No mayor wanted Uber. All the regulators said no to Uber, but the people wanted Uber. And one thing that just happened today in the GOP platform, they're going to have their convention next week. Right there, glaringly in the GOP platform, is the protection of digital assets and the protection specifically of Bitcoin. So I think that's a huge mistake by the Democrats. I feel like they're fumbling the football on digital assets. It's not a niche business anymore. Okay, you could go by the Mike Novogratz discussion where he thinks there's 85 million wallets. I think Coinbase put out something like 50 million wallets. Let's cut those down. Let's say there's only 20 million wallets of eligible voters in the United States, and let's say 10% of them are single-issue voters. We've got 2 million potential voters in a very close, very narrow election being resolved by 6 or 7 swing states that could be single-issue digital asset voters. So to me, I think it's overwhelming conclusion that this will be an acceptable long-term asset class in the United States. And if that's the case, I'm not worried about the other sovereigns.
You're obviously well connected in the political arena.
Big stuff to come. I always say on the channel that politics are not what this channel's about, right? I don't look at it from the outside. We're just looking at it from specifically crypto's perspective. And some people are more bullish on crypto, and it can be very good news for crypto if certain people get into power.
You're probably thinking about, not probably, you are, I know, thinking about
some places worse than others.
What many are thinking about,
worse than others.
What's going to happen leading up to the election. What do you think? What do you hear? What's the story?
Oh, listen, I mean, I think President Biden is obviously dug in, had a poor debate performance, but it appears like he is going to be the nominee. The swing state voting right now has former President Trump in the lead. I'm a markets guy. I know you're a markets guy. The poly markets are favoring Donald Trump right now. But these things are close elections, and there's a lot to be decided right now. You have the VP process, which will come up this week. You've got another debate on September the 10th. If President Biden is staying in the race, I think he really has to demonstrate what he's been trying to do over the last couple of days. He was on Morning Joe this morning, our sister network, and he's very articulate on Morning Joe. but he's having problems putting sentences together, and I think that has to worry people. And so we'll see how all that unfolds. I think they'll have to make a decision one way or another by the end of this week.
So some very interesting and important information there. He believes Bitcoin is going above $100,000. There is a lot of good catalysts coming, like the FTX giving back their creditors. And also he expects that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is going to get Skybridge Capital to $10 billion assets under management. So he believes in it. Let me know if you guys think that we are going to hit $100,000 for Bitcoin very soon, or is it all smoke and mirrors and we are about to go down to the abyss, zero? If you don't think that and you are also trading like me, please make sure you stay safe. But the links to BTCC so you guys can get that deposit bonus will be left down there in the description. Remember, no KYC and no VPN required for you to get that bonus. With that said, guys, hopefully I provided some value and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.